1. An adult learning strategy most effective in preparing Nebraska notary candidates to handle journal entries correctly is A. Requiring rote memorization of statutes only. B. Case-based scenarios simulating common notarial journal entries. C. Reading aloud from the Nebraska Notary Manual without application. Encouraging learners to copy each other's notes. 2. In developing a Nebraska notary training curriculum, the first step should be A. Identifying learning outcomes aligned with state notary laws. Listing every historical notary act since statehood. C. Creating practice tests before establishing objectives. D. Ignoring adult learners' professional goals. 3. Which evaluation method best measures readiness for any notary applicants? A. Scenario-based assessments simulating real notarizations. B. Oral recitation of statutes only. C. True-false quizzes without context. D. Peer evaluation with no rubric. 4. A mentor helps a Nebraska notary candidate learn the correct procedure for acknowledging a deed. The most effective mentoring technique is A. Providing a detailed demonstration followed by practice with feedback. B. Having the candidate memorize acknowledgement wording only. C. Avoiding practice until the exam is passed. D. Reading from the law book without discussion. 5. When preparing adult learners for Nebraska's notary compliance rules, the trainer should A. Use interactive discussions of real disciplinary cases. B. Only distribute printed rules to memorize. C. Avoid explaining penalties to save time. D. Require learners to recite laws verbatim. 6. Which principle of adult learning is most important in notary education? A. Relevance to professional practice. B. Passive reception of information. C. Memorization without context. D. Ignoring learner experience. 7. In designing formative assessments for Nebraska notary training, the best method is A. Small quizzes with immediate feedback on errors. B. Delayed grading weeks later. C. Ignoring incorrect answers to reduce stress. D. Peer grading with no standards. 8. When evaluating understanding of seal requirements, the instructor should A. Provide sample documents and ask learners to apply the seal correctly. B. Only lecture on seal laws without examples. C. Skip seal requirements as minor details. D. Provide seals but no instructions. 9. Which curriculum development step ensures any notary prep meets regulatory standards? A. Mapping objectives directly to Nebraska notary statutes. B. Teaching only general contract law. C. Following another state's notary curriculum. D. Ignoring law changes after 2020. 10. Effective communication in any notary training includes A. Demonstrating how to explain notarial acts clearly to signers. B. Speaking in legal jargon without clarification. C. Reading from the manual only. D. Minimizing signer communication. 11. Which evaluation method best assesses any notary ethical decision-making? A. Case studies on real or hypothetical ethical dilemmas. B. Memorizing definitions of ethics. Ignoring ethics as subjective. Asking learners to list ethical terms. 12. In mentoring, which method supports reflective practice for Nebraska notaries? A. Encouraging mentees to write about their notarization experiences. B. Discouraging reflection as unnecessary. C. Assigning only statute memorization. D. Avoiding case discussions. 13. Nebraska notary training is most effective when A. Learners actively apply knowledge to real-world cases. B. Instructors deliver lectures without interaction. C. Learners passively copy notes. D. Feedback is delayed until the end of the course. 14. A Nebraska notary instructor designs practice exercises around identifying signer ID errors. This reflects A. Competency-based education. Passive memorization. C. Irrelevant learning activities. D. Ignoring authenticity requirements. 15. Which communication skill is vital for any notaries when interacting with signers? A. Explaining duties clearly and in plain language. B. Using complex legal terms exclusively. C. Refusing to answer questions about the process. D. Avoiding explanations altogether. 16. Adult learners retain a notary regulations best when A. Concepts are tied to actual notarial case applications. Information is delivered as isolated facts. C. Learners only listen without engagement. D. Context is withheld to save time. 17. An instructor teaching Nebraska notary law uses mock notarization sessions. This demonstrates A. Experiential learning. B. Pure theory without practice. C. Ignoring practice in training. D. Passive listening techniques. 18. A Nebraska notary prep curriculum should be updated. A. Whenever state statutes or administrative rules change. B. Every 50 years only. C. Never once established. D. Only at the instructor's discretion. 19. In mentoring new NE notaries, which is most effective for building confidence? A. Providing guided practice with feedback on notarization procedures. B. Criticizing errors without offering help. C. Avoiding practice to save time. D. Withholding feedback until renewal time. 20. In evaluating adult learners' NE notary knowledge, the most fair method is A. Using clear rubrics tied to state law requirements. B. Relying on subjective instructor impressions. C. Ignoring learning outcomes in grading. D. Random assignment of grades. 21. Which is an essential curriculum component in NE notary training? A. Coverage of prohibited acts and disciplinary procedures. B. Exclusive focus on history of notaries in Europe. C. Avoidance of discussing penalties. D. Relying on out-of-date materials. 22. Nebraska notaries must maintain impartiality. Which training activity reinforces this skill? A. Role-playing scenarios involving potential conflicts of interest. B. Memorizing the word impartiality only. C. Skipping impartiality due to complexity. D. Assuming impartiality without training. 23. For adult learners, self-directed study in NE notary prep is supported by A. Providing resources and guidance for independent review. B. Withholding resources until exam day. C. Assigning irrelevant tasks. D. Dictating one rigid study method. 24. To effectively evaluate readiness for the NE notary exam, instructors should A. Incorporate both written tests and practical simulations. B. Use oral recitations only. C. Rely on group discussions without assessments. Avoid testing to reduce stress. 25. Communication training for NE notaries should focus on A. How to verify signer understanding before notarization. B. Avoiding interaction with signers. C. Giving legal advice about contracts. D. Explaining notarial duties with excessive jargon. 26. In mentoring modeling compliance with Nebraska's record-keeping laws demonstrates A. Best practices for mentees to emulate. B. Ignoring compliance to reduce workload. C. Teaching record-keeping only through lectures. D. Telling mentees to memorize rules without practice. 27. Curriculum developers ensure learner engagement in NE notary prep by including interactive workshops on notarization scenarios. B. Designing content as passive lectures only. C. Assigning unrelated subjects. D. Avoiding interaction to save time. 28. An instructor uses peer review of practice notarizations. This best supports A. Collaborative learning and critical feedback. B. Passive acceptance of instructor authority only. C. Avoidance of reflection and growth. Exclusive focus on memorization. 29. Adult learning theory in any notary education emphasizes A. Connecting training to learners' professional and personal goals. B. Ignoring relevance to practice. C. Rote memorization without meaning. D. Minimizing learner involvement. 30. In evaluating notarial misconduct scenarios, the most effective activity is A. Role play, where learners identify and correct misconduct. B. Reciting misconduct definitions. C. Skipping misconduct topics to avoid discomfort. D. Relying only on multiple choice questions. 31. Effective feedback in any notary training should be A. Immediate, specific, and constructive. B. Generic and delayed. C. Avoided to reduce tension. D. Limited to final exams. 32. Nebraska notary candidates benefit most when A. Training balances legal knowledge with practical skills. B. Instruction focuses only on historical context. C. Practice is eliminated for efficiency. D. Learning is lecture-based without engagement. 33. A mentor supporting any notary candidates ensures ethical practice by A. Reviewing case studies of improper notarization and discussing alternatives. B. Avoiding ethics topics in training. C. Demanding memorization of codes only. D. Withholding guidance until complaints occur. 34. When mentoring a new Nebraska notary on handling protests of negotiable instruments, which approach best aligns with both adult learning principles and statutory compliance? A. Providing a step-by-step checklist while explaining the legal basis for each step. B. Giving them access only to the statutes and expecting independent study. C. Allowing them to observe for 6 months before attempting their own protest. D. Testing them immediately on obscure scenarios without preparation.